Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Hi everyone, I hope you are doing well. Today we are going to deal with a new skill which is about reading, alright? Last time we dealt with vocabulary related to science and technology, alright? And today we are going deep in this, starting with discussing these pictures. First of all, what do we see on this picture, or in this picture actually? It's a person sitting on a bench, for example, and alright, so what is it? And everything in gray. Gray refers to something which is positive or negative. Absolutely negative. So here we can say that it's a loneliness. Alright, it's a loneliness. الوحدة أو الوحدانية. It's a loneliness. Great, what about this one? Okay, we can say that it's a hacker, right? So a man using his computer. He's surrounded by many screens, by monitors actually. So we can say that this one is a hacker, and most of hackers use computers a lot. It means they stay or sit on the computers for many hours. So in this case, if a person stays or sit in front of a computer for many hours, we can say that this person is a computer geek. Computer geek. Geek تاني مهووس. Computer geek مهووس بالcomputer. Okay, so moving on. Here we have a monitor, printer, mouse, keyboard, base unit. All these are what? They are computer parts. Computer parts أجزاء الكمبيوتر أو الحاسوب. Great. Let's define or describe this picture here. We can see that there is a person, alright, sitting in the middle of a crowd, right? A group of people. All of them, they are using, alright, for example, tablets, mobile phones, and so on. Okay? So, what can we say? That everyone is what? Get used to using, communication tools. They are using social media other than socializing. Do you understand the meaning of this? Socializing. Socializing هو أن تكون اجتماعيا، أن تتحدث مع الآخرون. But what happens nowadays is that people, they are using social media. يستعملون المواقع الاجتماعية والمنصات الاجتماعية ولكنهم غير اجتماعيون. Alright, so I hope that you get the meaning. Moving on, here, what happens? Alright, one is feeding himself by social media, example Facebook, for example. So in this case, we can say that people get addicted to social media, to computers, to anything technological. Great, good. So after dealing with these pictures, we are going to study this text. So starting with the first line, I was walking on Sunday afternoon. It was cold and it was starting to rain. So describing the scene here. المشهد. I was walking on a Sunday afternoon. It was cold and it was starting to rain. I was looking for a restaurant or a cafe where I could sit and have something to drink. I was looking for a restaurant. Alright, so I was walking on Sunday afternoon. It was cold and it was starting to rain. So, what was this person doing there? He was looking for a restaurant or a cafe where he could sit and have something to drink. So this is the purpose. When I saw one restaurant, I crossed the street and I was there. I sat at a place or at a round table and asked for a cup of coffee. While I was waiting for my order, I realized that there were other people in the place. But I sensed loneliness. I felt lonely. I felt lonely or I sensed loneliness. شعرت بالوحدة. Why? Here is the answer. I saw other bodies, other people, but couldn't feel their souls. He see people, but can't feel their souls, their presence there. Why? That was because their souls didn't belong to them. Oh, right. Because their souls doesn't or don't belong to them. Why? It belongs to who then? Instead, they belong to the internet. So he felt lonely because there are people, but their souls are not there because they don't belong to them, but they belong to internet. Great, that's amazing. Let's see how is this happening. He is going to describe how is this happening. I stood up and walked between the tables. When I came to the biggest computer, I saw a thin, small man sitting in front of it. I stood up, and walked between the table. Stand and stood up and walked between the tables. When I came to the biggest computer, I saw a thin, small man sitting in front of it. I'm Steve, he finally answered after I had asked him a couple of times what his name was. So, قام بسؤال الشخص الجالس أمام الكمبيوتر الضخم مرات عديدة، وأخيرا أجابه ذلك الشخص thin person. It's a thin. I saw a thin small man. A thin يعني ضعيف, right? It's a thin small man. He answered أجابه I'm Steve. Great. I can't talk to you. I'm busy. He didn't just say that I'm Steve, but I can't talk to you. I'm busy. لا أستطيع التحدث معك. أنا مشغول. He said, that's Steve speaking. I thought he was working and I apologized. ظن أنه مشغول. Okay. وبيعمل شيئا مهما. So I apologized. Said sorry. He didn't say anything. Okay, he didn't reply for apology. I wanted to see what he was doing. Because of curiosity, he wants to know what he was doing. What that important that made him ignore this person, the speaker. I stood behind him. I stood again, stand, stood, وقفت خلفه, behind him. He wasn't working. لم يكن يعمل. He was chatting online with somebody. كان يتحدث مع شخص آخر. chatting. يتحدث مع شخص آخر عبر social media. Probably someone he didn't know. غالبا شخص لا يعرفه. And at the same time, he was playing a computer game. Alright, talking. That's what most of us do right nowadays. We are talking at the same time playing, at the same time reading an article and so on. So, yes, so at the same time he was playing a computer game, a war game. I was astonished. Astonished يعني it's like shocked. Astonished يعني تجمدت في مكاني. This is I was astonished. Why he was astonished? Oh, right, because that person ignored him. For what reason? Because he was talking to another person and playing computer games. Great. Why didn't Steve want to talk to me? The person asked himself. I tried again to communicate with that computer geek. ما هو بالكمبيوتر. But not a word came out of his mouth. اسأله مرة أخرى ولم يجب. I touched his shoulder. Shoulder هو الكتف. I touched, لمسته, his shoulder. But there was no reaction. I touched his shoulder, but there was no reaction. لم يكن هناك أي ردة فعل. I was getting upset. Disappointed. I put my hand in front of the monitor. Monitor هو شاشة الحاسوب. And he started shouting, "Leave me alone!" I took a few steps back. I was ashamed. شعرت بالحرج. I wanted to look and see if all those in cafe were looking at me. نظر. Alright. أو أراد النظر أو إلقاء نظرة على الناس الموجودين في كافيه في ذلك المقهى and see if all those in the cafe were looking at me ليرى إن كان جل الحاضرون هناك ينظرون إليه. But there was nobody interested. Nobody was interested. لم يكترث. لم يكن هناك أحد يكترث. In what was happening. فيما كان يحدث. Everybody was using a computer. At that moment I realized that the people in the place were having a cup of coffee and a nice conversation with their machines, not with people. I realized it's like حينها أدركت. I realized يعني أدركت that the people in that place were having a cup of coffee and a nice conversation with their machines. أن الأشخاص الموجودين هناك حاصلون على كأس كوب قهوة and a nice conversation ومحادثة رائعة مع machines مع الآلات ومع آلاتهم not with people ليس مع الأشخاص. All of them were interested in having a relationship with the computer. All of them كلهم مهتمون بأن يحصلوا على علاقة مع حاسوبهم. I wouldn't want to imagine the future of human beings if they preferred sharing their lives with machines instead of people. I wouldn't want to imagine. لا أريد okay to imagine أن أتخيل the future المستقبل of human beings الإنسان if they preferred حينما in if it's in if they preferred sharing their lives if they preferred sharing إن فضلوا أن يشاركوا their lives حيواتهم أو حياتهم with machines مع آلات instead of people بدل أشخاص. Great, I think that we have explained all difficult parts of this text using even Arabic. So, we are going to answer a couple of questions. The first one I choose or A. Choose the best title of the passage, tick the appropriate books. We have computer games, computer programming, or computer addiction. So in 10 seconds, the answer is computer addiction. The general idea of the whole text. So it's a computer addiction. Great. Moving on to the next question. Are these sentences true or false? Justify. The first one. The writer went to a cafe on a sunny day. 2. Steve answered the writer's question immediately. 3. The people in the cafe didn't care لم يكونوا مكترثين about what was happening on between Steve and the writer. Let's start with the first one. The writer went to a cafe on a sunny day. Okay, you stop the video and you do the exercise. Once you finish, you resume the video and you look at the correction. So, the writer went to a cafe on a sunny day. It's a false. I was walking on a Sunday afternoon. It was cold and it was starting to rain, so it wasn't a sunny day. Number 2, Steve answered the writer's question immediately. Is it true or false? Absolutely, it's a false. So, it's what? So, he finally answered after I asked him a couple of times what his name was. So it means it's not in the first time. It's not immediately. Number 3, the people in the cafe didn't care about what was going on between Steve and the writer. It's true. Why? Because he said, I wanted to look and see if all those in the cafe were looking at me, but there was nobody interested in what was happening. Everybody was using a computer. Great, now let's move on to the next exercise. C. Answer these questions. The first one, why did the writer apologize? 2. What was Steve busy doing? 3. What did Steve start shouting? Or why did Steve start shouting? So you take 2 minutes to answer this exercise. You stop the video and you do your exercise. Alright, now let's start doing the correction. Number 1, why did the writer apologize? So the writer apologized because he thought Steve was working. The writer apologized because he thought Steve was working. Great. Number 2. What was Steve busy doing? He was chatting online with somebody, probably someone he didn't know, and at the same time he was playing a computer game. So he was chatting online with somebody, probably someone he didn't know. Or let's paraphrase this. He was chatting online with somebody and playing computer or a computer game. Full stop. Number 3. Why did Steve start shouting? Why did Steve start shouting? Because he... Someone to answer this one? Because the writer put his hand, alright, in front of the monitor. That's why Steve was shouting, because the writer put his hand in front of the monitor. Great. After you correct your sentences, or after you correct your exercise, let's move to the next one. Alright, so reference task. You are going to tell me what these pronouns or what these words refer to, starting with they. Go ahead, you have 2 minutes again. You stop the video and you do the exercise. Alright, let's do the correction. So they belong to the internet. Instead, they belong to the internet. They, it's souls. Souls. أرواح. Souls. Moving on to machines. We have a nice conversation with their machines. What do you mean by machines? Machines here refer to computers. To computers. Great. Let's move on to the next exercise. Here we have find in the text words that mean almost the same as number 1, surprised, or let's say shocked. Instead of surprised, let's say shocked. Number 2, computer screen. It's easy. You take 1 minute to do this exercise. Go ahead. Alright, let's do the correction right now. Speaking about the first one, surprised, it's astonished. Astonished. It's in the second paragraph. Astonished at the last line. Astonished. Number 2, computer screen. It's in paragraph number 3. It's a monitor. Monitor. So the first one, astonished. The second one, it's a monitor. Alright, that's it for today. Your assignment is to deal with this picture. You are going to describe what do you see in this picture and which lesson can we learn from this picture. We have it's a funeral, alright? It's a funeral, جنازة. Okay, and you can see that how many people are there? Just few, 4 people. Alright, what did the the woman tell the man next to her? She says, or she said, column, quotation mark, he had over 2,000 Facebook friends. I was expecting a bigger turnout. Turnout is like funeral. So, what do we learn from this picture? You write a small paragraph of 5-10 lines and you send it to me via our groups with your names for sure. Thank you so much and see you next time. Goodbye.